Hello and welcome back to the final episode of Watching Washington this semester. Today is May 1st and I'm Julia Moran. Let's take a look at the top stories this week. Starting in Washington, a shooting at the White House Correspondents' Dinner is causing serious security concerns in the Capitol. According to CBS, a suspect armed with a shotgun and a handgun attempted to rush through a security checkpoint outside an event at the Hilton, Washington. Officials say multiple shots were fired at the scene. A Secret Service agent was struck by a bullet but survived because he was wearing a protective vest and is expected to recover. Authorities say the suspect was quickly overcome by security staff and arrested at the location. CBS reported that President Donald Trump and other guests were safely cleared from the area and no attendees were seriously injured. Investigators say the suspect may have targeted government officials, and the FBI is currently investigating the attacker's background and possible motives. Lawmakers are also calling for more information on the incident.
We're restricted over here. Director yesterday had a good, productive meeting. He was very forthcoming. We're going to bring him in front of the whole Oversight Committee for a briefing tomorrow. I don't know that there's going to be any new information that's going to be presented to the members tomorrow that you all don't already know.
Does this merit like a Butler-style probe at this point?
I haven't seen that yet, but I'll leave it up to the members to decide.
This week in Indiana, a shooting in Bloomington leaves 5 young females injured. The celebration of the Little 500 quickly turned south when a fight broke out between 2 people involving gunfire. By the end of the shooting, 5 females had been injured due to gunfire, but 4 more were injured during their attempt to run from the scene. The shooting took place on the 400 block of East Kirkwood Avenue, which directly borders the western side of Indiana University's campus. The shooting took place around 12:25 a.m., according to Wish TV. Bloomington Police Chief Mike DeKoff stated no arrests have been made yet. The girls injured were between the ages of 18 to 21, and only 4 victims have been treated and released. 1 victim was admitted for further treatment, but none are in life-threatening condition. After the shooting, students were interviewed about the event. Let's hear what they have to say.
If we hear a bang, let's not hang around to find out what it is.
It was 2 women fighting. Before I knew it, I didn't think much of it. It was just 2 people scuffling. I imagined the cops were going to get into it as soon as they could. But I seen a girl reach for her, I want to say right side pants leg, and pull out a gun and fire it. But by the time she reached for it, I was already running and gone, turned the other way.
They start fighting, it's just big commotion, it's a group of people, and then shots went off, you know what I'm saying? And then I tell the guy, like, we gotta get out of here, like, cause they shooting.
Initially, I thought that maybe it could be fireworks or people just being scared in general, but at the same time, it's like, this could be serious, so we might as well just be better safe than sorry.
From the U.S. to Colombia, 20 people were killed in a highway bombing Saturday. The Associated Press reports an explosive device detonated inside a bus driving along the Pan American Highway in the Cajibio municipality. This is the latest attack in the southwestern region. According to Colombian officials, this region is a center for drug trafficking. Commander of the Colombian Armed Forces, General Hugo Lopez, claimed this incident was a terrorist attack. The motive of this detonation is still unclear at this time. Looking back to the U.S., King Charles III and Queen Camilla are in the United States for a 4-day visit, meeting with U.S. leaders and taking part in events focused on diplomacy, security, and climate issues.
Over 50 years ago, I served with immense pride in the Royal Navy. That same unyielding resolve is needed for the defense of Ukraine and her most courageous people. The commitment and expertise of the United States Armed Forces and its allies lie at the heart of NATO. We must also reflect on our shared responsibility to safeguard nature, our most precious and irreplaceable asset.
A major highlight of the visit, King Charles delivered a historic address to Congress, reinforcing the long-standing alliance between the United States and the United Kingdom. In more UK news, London police are investigating a stabbing incident that raised concerns across the city. Body cam footage released by London's Metropolitan Police shows the moment officers arrested a man suspected of stabbing 2 Jewish men. Police say the suspect has a history of serious violence and mental health issues and is now in custody. Authorities continue to investigate the incident as they work to determine the motive.
Can I first thank her for raising this issue, which I had learnt about before Prime Minister's questions. It is deeply concerning to everyone in this House. There is now a police investigation, and I think we all need to do everything we can to support that investigation and be absolutely clear in our determination to deal with any of these offences, the like of which we've seen too much recently.
Officials say the investigation is ongoing as they continue to gather more information. Looking at Iran war updates, Iran may be looking to ease tensions with the United States. According to Reuters, Iran has put forward a new proposal in an attempt to ease tensions in the region. Reuters reports the plan may include measures to reopen key shipping lanes and reduce military pressures. Officials say no agreement has been reached yet, and the future of the negotiations remain uncertain. As the situation develops, the United States is also assessing its response. Looking at the U.S. once again, the White House is actively coordinating with the FBI to look into the deaths and disappearances of at least 10 people connected to sensitive U.S. nuclear and aerospace research. According to CNN, officials are saying they are paying close attention to the cases. The White House has not said there is proof of a coordinated plot, but says the situation is serious enough to review. Federal agencies, including the FBI, are now looking for any possible links between the cases. Officials are also warning the public to not jump to conspiracy theories while the investigation continues. We'll keep you updated with any more news from this investigation. Up next, severe weather impacts multiple cities across the U.S. Plus, AI goes to court. More Watching Washington next.
At Purdue University, we're not just students, we're future leaders. Join Air Force ROTC to embark on a journey of honor, excellence, and service. Learn, lead, and soar to new heights. It's not just a commitment, it's a calling. Purdue Air Force ROTC, where dreams take flight.
We usually do it without a
Are you
floor
ready to
director
rise?
anyways. I know what I'm doing, yeah. Oh, really?
We are energetic, we are motivating, and we are unique.
I don't think we can beat Quidditch.
We have our meetings where people can come in, write, draw on cards. We send them over to specific hospitals.
So I joined Letters of Love because the original creator of Letters of Love, her mom had cancer growing up, and she took all of these letters that her mom had made. So being able to give back to an organization that can make these kids feel like human again was the most important thing to me.
Anyone is welcome here. You don't have to be queer to come here. You're welcome to just come in, stop by, say hi to people.
I feel like it's helped me find my friend group. I don't think that without this place I would have had such a strong, close-knit social group as I've formed here.
Louisiana primaries are delayed after a recent Supreme Court ruling. On Wednesday, the court made a 6-3 ruling that struck down a landmark civil rights era law. The AP reports this law increased representation for minorities in Congress by drawing district lines to give racial groups more representation. Chief Justice John Roberts referred to the map as a snake, and Justice Samuel Alito called it unconstitutional gerrymandering. As a result, primaries in Louisiana are delayed while the state Congress redraws a new map. This decision comes from Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry, who had this to say about the court's decision.
I think that the Supreme Court has finally taken race out of redistricting, which we've been saying all along. Listen, we're one nation under God, all created equally. I think that the Supreme Court is tired of the legal circus that's been going on in the federal courts.
If you're a fan of eating strawberries, be picky when you buy them at the grocery store, and don't wait too long to eat them. That's because rain is having an impact on the spring crop in California. In fact, according to a trade website called CaliforniaStrawberries.com, around 88% of all strawberries in the U.S. come from the Golden State. Farmers like Edward Lucas say even a little too much rain at this point in time can hurt.
It makes the strawberry get rotten faster than it's normally used to be, where it don't last as long, especially if you don't keep them in the fridge.
Growers say rain is a good thing, but the timing and the amount are important. KSBY in Fresno reports that during heavy rain, half an inch of water can have a negative impact. It causes berries to split, and that's when mold can set in quickly. In other weather news, severe storms have left a trail of damage across the plains this past week. Highly rated tornadoes have devastated communities in Oklahoma and Texas. An EF3 hit Mineral Wells, Texas, on Tuesday and destroyed around 130 buildings. The tornado only injured 5 people. Meanwhile, cleanup efforts have been going on for a few days in Enid, Oklahoma, after an EF4 tornado destroyed neighborhoods. The tornado in Enid carved a 9-mile path at 500 yards wide as it nearly missed an Air Force base. Make sure to brush up on your survival tips and keep a survival kit present in order to stay prepared. We will keep you updated as we get through the tornado season. In celebrity news, this week Taylor Swift has decided to fight back against artificial intelligence using her voice. As AI advances, celebrities' voices and images are being generated much more. Singer-songwriter Taylor Swift has filed applications to trademark her voice, image, and likeness in hopes of protection against AI. On April 24th, Swift's company TAS Rights Management filed 3 trademark applications, according to The Guardian. 2 trademarks she hopes to implement are for the phrases, quote, "Hey, it's Taylor Swift," and, quote, "Hey, it's Taylor." The 3rd trademark filed was for a well-known image of Swift while on tour. Swift's likeness has been used in AI many times since its advancements, specifically using her likeness. In 2024, Donald Trump posted many AI images of Swift endorsing him for president. In previous years, Matthew McConaughey had also trademarked one of his well-known sayings. This could be a new trend we will see throughout Hollywood, especially as AI continues to advance. On the topic of Taylor Swift, the New York Times recently dubbed her one of the 30 greatest living American songwriters. The unranked list included the likes of Stevie Wonder, Swift herself, Paul Simon, Dolly Parton, and 26 more American songwriters. The Times said these writers have, quote, defined what half a century of national life sounds like. Some music critics online, like producer and YouTuber Rick Beato, called the list a, quote, absolute disaster, alongside music influencer Anthony Fantano calling out the Times for some snubs. The article was based on survey data from 250 prominent music critics, all of which, quote, weighed in on who defines the new American songbook. To wrap up this semester of Watching Washington, I'll be sitting down with the rest of my classmates after the break, and we'll discuss what we've learned this semester. Stay with us. Watching Washington, we'll be right back.
The program allows students to finish their bachelor's degree and also get an online master's degree that overlap during their last year at Purdue.
Students can more quickly work towards a graduate degree while concurrently starting their professional careers.
The online program allows them to kind of go at their own pace, and so they're not having to abide by the academic calendar.
And our goal is that this would make you even more compelling for your next opportunity in the workforce.
The Center for C-SPAN, which is this organization, the CCSC, what we do is we facilitate like a bunch of organizations, different programs for Brian Lamb, which is the founder of C-SPAN. Anyone can be part of CCSC, whether it be through our various internships, our competitions, just to be involved, even like our student community meetings that we have every week. Anyone can go, you don't have to be communications or poli-sci. You just meet so many people, the connections you make is kind of crazy, the range that CCSC has. So yeah, it's just provided me so many opportunities to like kind of achieve the goals I have personally and forward to like whatever career paths I choose.
This semester on the show, you've seen a lot of me on screen, but there are several others behind the scenes that write the stories, collect the video, and sound bites. Today, our final show of the semester, we're going to discuss what stories have dominated our broadcasts and stories that piqued our interests and why, plus which stories have been a challenge. There are a couple of familiar faces here. Not all of our classmates are here. Both Lily and Natalia have conducted some of our interviews this semester, and let's go ahead and get into everything here. So I'd say, honestly, the story that has dominated our headlines the most has been the Iran War. So some of our other classmates have been writing about it more, but for you guys, how has your reporting been?
I would say for me, the biggest thing that I have wrote about with the Iran War was basically gas prices and the Strait of Hormuz and all of the oil companies that have come with it. And, you know, you can see kind of the effects of what this war has done to not only Iran, but also just like all of the surrounding countries. And yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it was a shock to everybody because we did not expect to have a war started while we were doing the show. So it's been actually very interesting to cover like all of those stories and be able to show everybody the important things that sometimes media doesn't do. So I had been writing some of those stories, and as for me as well, it was very interesting to actually be informed and inform everybody. So yeah, I think it's very important to talk about something that it's really impacting the whole world.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember I wrote a story about the initial like naval fleets that were getting sent to the area, and no one was really talking about it much. And so I covered the story, and I was like, I think this could be a big thing. And like a day or two after, it's like, yeah, there's a war going on, and it's like, oh, okay, great.
Right.
Good to know. So yeah, we talked a bit about like gas prices and how everything's so crazy and like sort of covering economic stuff. But I feel like the most kind of niche and unexpected story was the Nancy Guthrie case, where she was, Savannah Guthrie, the Today Show host's mom, was kidnapped, and unfortunately it went kind of cold. So how do we feel about that? Did you guys do any writing on it?
I didn't do any writing in particular on it, but I did find the entire story just really interesting because it did kind of just like disappear out of nowhere, and everyone just kind of stopped talking about it, and we never really figured out what happened. Yeah.
Yeah. It was like also very shocking, you know, like every story we wrote about. I didn't write about this one either. It was another of our classmates, but it was very interesting trying to see like the process of what was going to happen each week, but then unfortunately there hasn't been an outcome, you know. So yeah,
you always hope it doesn't go cold, but unfortunately it does, and it did. You know, hope for nothing but the best for all of them.
Right.
But another story that I think was more unique was the whole Artemis II launch and everything surrounding that. I mean, space is back in the news. It's kind of been out of the news for a while, and especially going back to the moon. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
I mean, coming from, we're studying at Purdue, it's
Right.
like a very big thing for us.
Yeah.
It was very interesting seeing that like so many years had passed and nothing like this had happened again. So I actually did write a lot of these stories, and it was very fun seeing them when they were in space and everything, just when they name the part of that moon like after the wife.
Yeah.
It was so touching and such like beautiful stories to write about the new pictures of the moon and like seeing all of these things. It's actually amazing. So yeah.
I think one of my favorite parts about this story was just all of the videos and interviews that came out of it. They were really fun to watch, and it was really fun to see how like the astronauts are like enjoying their time in space.
Yeah.
It's not just like work for them, but they're like up there having fun and like, you know, they're on the moon.
I mean, I'm sure a lot of childhood dreams came true that day, so really happy for them. And I'm excited to see like sort of what moon travel is like in the future, because I mean, they didn't land on the moon, but they were doing, it was a survey, I guess, to try to see if it's possible to get back on the moon again. So that'll be exciting.
The farthest they have ever been.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, absolutely. It's pretty crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Some other interesting things I'd say that have kind of been in our headlines have been sports. Now, obviously, this is a public affairs broadcasting show, but sports in a way is becoming public affairs here. With, I guess, like NIL deals for college athletes, women's sports being in the headlines, just all the money involved. I'm not sure if you guys have written too many of the stories on it, but what are your thoughts?
Yeah, not really. I haven't read any of these stories, but I find it really interesting that it's now becoming a big topic. Yeah, I don't really know, actually.
Yeah, I feel like with sports, I mean, the main thing that I really remember is the Olympics and just how like big the Olympics were, because it was also during a really like political time. And so, you know, when we traveled, it was like there was ICE agents everywhere, like a bunch of horrible things that like people were not welcoming of the US coming there. So I feel like that was also a really interesting thing to like live through and like talk about as well.
Yeah, actually coming back to that, I just remember on the Olympics, I talked about one of the Ukrainian athletes that was actually eliminated from the the Olympics just because he wore a helmet that had some strong images. So actually, it all comes back to politics and how the world works. So yeah.
Yeah, it's always interesting because people kind of say that sports shouldn't be super political, but a lot of these athletes do take these like moments where they're on camera and they're very visible to kind of make statements. Speaking of making political statements, covering politics is a difficult thing to do. It's difficult to stay unbiased, and it's difficult to read through all of these life-changing, world-changing events regularly and kind of just report on it. So how tough has it been for you, or not tough, to cover these political stories without bias?
I think for me, it's been very difficult. I think the biggest reason it's difficult is because when we're also looking into the news and we're looking for stories and we're like getting informed about it, we're reading stories that are already biased. They already have their opinions in it, whether they claim to have them or not. So I feel like that's also like a really big thing, is that like you're already getting your information from a biased place. And so like talking about it, you kind of have to like figure out, you know, which direction you want to go and like where you can go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like for me, well, I'm not from here, I'm from Colombia, so it's kind of different because I don't really, of course I care about like the US and their politics and everything, but I feel like I'm not so strong about it. So what Lily said is totally true, like every media has already a biased side. But I feel like we all really managed to like do all of the stories without being biased or anything. So, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the most important thing is to just have multiple sources, and really the nice thing is kind of having those sound bites and those videos that actually show what's going on rather than people writing about it, because the writing is where like the real bias sets in. And speaking of writing things, social media posts are really big in news and in the way that it's spread these days. It really impacts the news. And we're in an era where a lot of political statements, politicians are making these primary sources of what they think and what they're saying. So what do you guys think about how much social media has been a part of our sources this semester?
I think that it's really interesting to see, for sure. It's something that I kind of have, I guess, stronger opinions on, just because, I mean, when I think of politics, I think like professionalism. And I feel like posting your whole entire life and your whole entire opinion on Twitter is maybe not the smartest move if you're like running for president or like running for anything in politics. Like maybe just don't air it all out right there. And I feel like it's a honestly one of the biggest ways I see a lot of politicians getting themselves in trouble, because I mean, coming from a PR major, like sometimes it's better to just wait for your press release
Absolutely.
and not post on social media.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think the same as, like as you do. I feel like social media, it's just like a very easy thing to do. So it can be very good or very bad. Also, misinformation can spread really fast. So basically that's like what I think. And you know, Twitter is one of the biggest like medias right now. And well, every political leader like uses it. So it's important to see like what they write, but as well know that there's things that can be manipulated or changed.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a pretty crazy time to be able to have, you know, access to whatever a politician is thinking. And unfortunately, I think a lot of the social media usage is kind of adding to like the sensationalizing of politics, and sometimes, you know, making it just a lot more dramatized than it needs to be. But shifting kind of away from that sort of stuff, you both have conducted some pretty interesting interviews here. So you interviewed your roommate on her experience in Zimbabwe, right? And sort of the practice of poaching. Do you want to get into that interview and sort of what you learned real quick?
Yeah, honestly, that was really interesting for me because just a little background information, I used to be a vegetarian, so like any type of animal harm I was just completely against. And I remember whenever we were talking about that, I kind of changed views a little bit just because I didn't realize that there was so much that went into it, like especially with the people living there, their socioeconomics, and like just honestly their political figures, and like how politics runs there has such a huge impact on like poaching and what poaching is. And I remember her saying that that was how a lot of like people fed their families, and like also like if an elephant went in and ruined all your crops, now you didn't have food for the rest of the year. So I mean, like sometimes it's, you know, you have to see both sides of the story, and I feel like that was one of those interviews that really like showed both.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's such a like niche topic. No one really thinks about it unless you're directly involved by it. So it's very interesting to kind of open your eyes to more of a wider worldview. And with yours, you interviewed your friend who is from Venezuela, and sort of the whole thing about Maduro getting out of power. Do you want to go into your interview and what you learned?
Yeah, it was a very, I feel like for me, touching interview. It's amazing seeing someone that like you care about a lot being so happy about the outcome. I don't know if you guys know, but I think it was yesterday, the first flight from the US went to Venezuela in like 10 years. So it's actually like a very big thing for all of Venezuelans. And just learning about these topics and really being able to see it from somebody's perspective that actually has lived it, it's incredible. And being able to inform everybody about the good things and the bad things that the media doesn't show, it's great. And I think Daniela really gave us that. So it was a very like enrichment experience.
Yeah, it's always really interesting and good to hear from a non-American's perspective, because like our worldview can be so like, I don't know, one way. And it's always good to hear from the people who are directly affected by it. And from my interview, I interviewed Dr. Catherine Brunel, who is a professor here at Purdue of political science. And we kind of talked about social media and the current landscape of politics, sort of like what we were talking about earlier. And it was really insightful to kind of hear what she had to say about, like, again, this sort of sensationalizing of politics, and now I guess the immediacy of it, because politicians are so much more easily reachable. And it was a very interesting interview, and she is very educated on the topic, and I would love to learn more about it if I wasn't graduating.
That's great.
So to kind of wrap it up, our first week we had an assignment on the media and sort of what we think about it, what we know, where we get our sources from. And have your opinions on the media and sort of the practice of journalism changed since then?
I find this really interesting because I remember in that assignment I had talked about how I never really looked into media like that. I was not the type of person who got into politics or like news or anything like that. So I feel like this entire class has kind of like changed my perspective on it, just because, I mean, whenever I think of news, I think of like these heartbreaking stories, but we have covered some like fun stories, like at the Olympics when there was a dog who took over the show.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that was one thing that like really like stuck out to me, was that like it doesn't always have to be all bad. There can be good things that happen, and like those stories are just as deserving of the spotlight too.
Yeah, for me, I feel like I was not a girl that would see the news, you know? So coming here, I think that I take that with me now. It's been very interesting, and I feel like everybody should do it. We should be informed, and we should know what's happening in our world. But basically, I just know now which media I like the best, which one I don't relate with so much. And yeah, what Lily said, like every story can be covered, fun stories, political stories, everything. So I feel like that's how my way of seeing media has changed.
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately for me, I was already pretty like in this stuff. I mean, this is my major and political science and stuff. So I really enjoy being a part of the media and seeing all that goes into it. So I'm really glad that you guys have kind of gained a better understanding of it. And unfortunately, that is all the time that we have for today. Thank you so much for joining us for our final episode. We'll see you next semester on Watching Washington.